Hi, Gay DeRusso here with the Majestic Rider. So today I'd like to talk about degenerative suspensory ligament disease. Some gated people might have heard of this before because it has occurred more in the Peruvian Pasos over the previous years. And it has been found to be in their breeding, and it is actually a genetic disorder. It is not from overuse or work. The problem is with the ligaments in the horse and the laxity of these ligaments. There's diseases in people that also are similar to this. If you've ever heard of Marfan's disease or Ehlers-Danlos disease, where the people are very flexible because their ligaments are loose, and then they have multiple dislocations of joints during their lifetime. So with the horse, what happens is that the ligaments start to give, and the horse begins to have problems with its ability to move. And one thing that's most noticeable to people is that the fetlocks drop down and the pasterns will start to give out, and you'll almost see a horizontal effect from their hoof up to their fetlock. And people will talk about a dropped fetlock or weakened pasterns, but again, it is the ligaments that are giving out. The hocks and stifles can also begin to straighten out, and they're as it progresses, it becomes progressively worse, and the horse loses its ability to stand up. The disease usually ends up with giving the horse an incurable lameness, and a lot of the horses are euthanized as they get older. The only treatment at this point in time is supportive treatment. They have not yet found a cure, but hopefully someday it will. What is hopefully happening is that the breeding is changing, and they're being more careful with the breeding to keep this out of the genes. And that is the only way to actually stop it at this point in time. So as you're looking at horses, it's not only in the Peruvian Pasos, but that's where you hear about it the most. It is also in other gaited horses like the Kentucky Mountain Horse, the Mountain Horse, the Missouri Foxtrotter, the Tennessee Walker, and it's also in other breeds of horses that are not gaited. The disease affects the connective tissue in the entire body, and now that they understand it more, they are trying to do more genetic testing, and responsible breeders are trying to breed this out so there are no longer as many issues with it. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is as we look at gaited horses that we're buying, and again, I'm always looking at the horses I'm training as well, some of the horses are a little bit longer in the pastern when you're evaluating them. And what I've noticed is some, they can come down more than the regular horses, but some people don't understand how far is okay for them to come down. Pastern and fetlock area should not be hitting the ground. And I recently saw a horse, it was on a rescue or an adoption center, and it's older, so it's already gone. And it was obvious that that horse was probably put in that rescue because it probably has this disease. So I'll show you the pictures, and you can see some videos of the horse moving, because it would be good for you to recognize this if you're out buying a horse, to make sure that it does not come down that far in the pasterns. If it does, there's a high likelihood that you're going to have some issues as time goes on, and that's okay if you're willing to deal with it, but you want to make sure you know that going into the situation. As I talk to people about buying horses, and people, of course, we're always trying to save money and not spend as much money on horses. There's a reason sometimes horses are cheaper, or a reason that somebody put them in a rescue. And sometimes it's because they have a disease like this that the person was aware of, and they are selling the horse, or they're putting it into rescue so they don't have to deal with it, and they figure someone will ride it for some point in time, and then they don't have to put it down either. So you want to be aware when you're evaluating these horses. You have to educate yourself. You can't just rely on people. We know a lot of horse people are not always the most honest people. And so we have to be aware of that ourselves and educate ourselves and just take everything into consideration. Because if you get a horse that has something like this or a major issue, again, it might not have been that expensive when you bought it. Like, oh, you got a deal, you got the horse for under $5,000. Well, if it only lives for so long and the whole time you're doing corrective shoeing and other things to keep it sound, or you possibly can't even ride it after a couple of years, then really you're going to end up paying twice as much, and you might as well spend that money in the beginning. So as you look at the horse, the front end actually does not look bad at all. It's in the hind legs that you will see this horse coming way down in its pasterns, and its fetlocks actually going horizontal. And I know the horse wasn't very old. I think it was like 3 years old.